Welcome to episode 102 of The Worst People We Know. I'm Sean Delahunt.
I'm Jeff Baldwin.
I'm Mike Flynn.
In today's episode, we're going to discuss how John McAfee of antivirus software and fugitive fame was finally arrested for tax evasion. Tesla firing their PR team even after we had kind of criticized Elon on needing a little bit more PR in his meetings, so I guess he didn't want to take our advice. COVID-19 outbreaks at Amazon and space exploration selling out. How you guys doing today?
Doing okay.
Lovely little Sunday actually over here at the Flynn household, Flynn compound. We 72 degrees in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Very
which is nice. Yeah, went out there, classic San Francisco style. Too cold in the shade, too hot in the sun.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Are you guys supposed to get another heat wave? We apparently next week it's going to be miserable here again.
Yeah, it's going to be in the 80s in San Francisco, which is in the thousands in any other part of the country.
Yeah.
But I've already got we have blinds on our windows where people can see them, so we look like nice humans, and the side windows that people don't see, we've got tapestries nailed up because I live with 5 hippies, and there's tapestries all over the garage, so we just nail them up over the windows, keep the sun from pouring in, cool ourselves down. Pretty good sitch.
Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah,
That works. Florida, I think, is just a constant heat wave, so it's hot here.
Yeah. Well, so you got the AC though, and the pool.
I was going to say you must use a lot of air conditioning, right?
Yeah, I mean I've tried not using it, thinking it's not that hot out.
Yeah.
It's so humid that everything just gets sticky. Like the coffee table is just like everything is sweating somehow.
Nice.
And it's like, okay, I'm turning it back on. Now I'm like worried I'm going to damage something because everything's wet.
Right.
I gotta imagine though, you're saving the environment a lot by doing less laundry because you just don't wear pants.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, very true.
So I have this environmental conundrum about air conditioning. I think we've discussed before. You guys probably know I pay Los Angeles DWP, my electric utility, for solar power. I don't necessarily receive solar power, but I pay a premium on every watt of energy I consume as if it is solar. But at the same time,
JJ?
JJ.
There's a watt joke.
Oh, JJ Watt. Giggle. But should I'm always conflicted. It's like, well, when it's really hot, I have an air conditioning unit. It's not very efficient. I don't think it does a particularly great job, but I'm mostly in it. Costs money to operate, but I'm not so worried about that. But I wonder, is it good for me from an environmental standpoint, since I am paying a premium for solar, to overconsume?
Just use all the energy you can.
Good point.
It's unclear to me what I'm supposed to do.
You want to bump that solar percentage up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would guess that anything that you do because you're not actually receiving the solar has a concern of having to kick up another facility somewhere, and so it's probably not good, right?
But then
the tipping point.
But I'm paying to invest in the future of solar. Like the premium I'm paying is supposed to go to build these renewable, green energy.
Oh,
projects.
Is that what the premium does? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, in theory, the state has to, if I paid all my energy, however many JJ watts I've got in a month, like that, since they sold it to me as solar, they've got to account for it as solar somewhere, I think.
Right.
And they could be selling somebody else solar power at the regular non-premium rate, and they're using my solar, but they've got to, essentially all
overall,
the energy I use has to be sourced from green.
Your solar will
energy.
Be.
Yeah.
Will be your electricity out there as solar, right?
Yeah.
If they're honest.
Not what I'm actually using feeding into my apartment. So
yeah, but that doesn't really matter.
What does that mean though? Does it mean that they once there's enough people paying a premium for solar energy that they have to plant more solar fields?
Yeah, well, I think it redirects the investment into solar going forward. They've got legacy systems that are non-renewable, non-green energy, and those are still operating, but the newer things they build. So it should expedite the
process towards
the process
renewable
of upgrading, right?
energy.
Yeah.
Well, now, do you think specifically they say they are not necessarily giving you that's solar? I understand what you're saying in the power itself.
Right, they could be. I've looked up the report, and it will say like where my for the area, their service area, which is like all of Los Angeles County, it will tell you the percentage of power coming into that. But it's so right to your point, Jeff. Like if it's 20% solar going to LA County, maybe I'm getting 100%, maybe I'm getting 5%.
It doesn't matter if someone else is getting it, right? You're just paying for the offset solar versus coal or whatever else they would be using. I guess my question is, do you think that you are paying for your energy to be solar, or at least some whatever? That's the metric, right? You're not paying extra just so that they invest in the future.
Correct.
Okay, right.
The first part, yeah.
So economically, they'll invest in the future because they would have to buy more solar and therefore maybe build more solar in the future. But right now, they would basically be buying from solar instead of buying from natural gas or whatever else. Yeah.
They have to balance out the whole accounting of it, and you would. I don't know how. I've paid attention to some of their reports, and I know they changed from they were using bio, whatever. What are they called? It's
biomass.
And I think that's it's green but not super friendly.
It's carbon. It's carbon neutral because it's all stuff that was grown in the last 100 years, whatever, 20 years, right?
100 years.
So the difference
burn down a tree.
Carbon neutral is you grow a tree, you burn it down, and then you grow it back, and the new tree will sequester all the carbon that you burn. So it's like the cycle is at least sustainable.
This is why this crap is so hard. Like, it's so hard to figure out because it's like, well, I don't know how much of it just ends up back in a stalk that I grew later. Like,
yeah, true. Well, when you're burning dead dinosaurs, however, the dinosaurs
not growing
don't
new dinosaurs is a problem. Basically, we just have to make more Jurassic Parks.
We have to grow more dinosaurs.
That is the problem.
That's the message.
What is the Trump administration's Jurassic policy? This is bullshit.
Has no one tweeted at him about this idea? Because he might go for it.
He would get on it, I think.
Where are your amber farms? I thought you supported farmers. Let's get some freaking prehistoric mosquitoes. By the way, did you guys see I only saw it on Twitter. There's somebody quoting it from a New York Times article that Trump floated multiple times while he was at Walter Reed to his press people that he wanted to walk out of Walter Reed looking frail, and then he would stand up and unbutton his white shirt and pull it open and reveal a Superman emblem that he was wearing.
Oh my God! Shut up.
That. He brought up the idea multiple times. And I tweeted, I was like, the only thing that seems implausible to me about this is that somebody persuaded him not to do it. There's no way that he comes up with this idea and they say, no. And he's like, yeah, you're right. We shouldn't do it. Like if he had done it, his people would be still on fire. They would still be running in circles, licking their own butts.
I would have thought that was pretty good. And I hate the guy. That would have been pretty amazing.
He's so mad.
It reminds me of a Jackass, Johnny Knoxville stunt or something. The Angry Grandpa or whatever that movie was.
Wow. Hey, let's talk about really sane people, Jeff.
Yeah. On the topic of sane people, John McAfee. Now, you alluded to it in the intro, Sean, and I don't know how much of you guys have followed this guy over the years. There was a documentary, I think it's still on Showtime or something. I looked up its IMDb, called Gringo, The Dangerous Life of John McAfee. I would recommend watching that at some point. It's completely bonkers. So this guy founded McAfee antivirus back in the day, and I think in the 90s. And then
that's when I remember not being able to open my computer without 95 pop-ups saying you should need to update to whatever the next thing that I invented is.
He founded in 1987 and ran it until 1994 when he resigned from the company. So since then, he's done a lot of business things, and his wiki page seems reads, at least the beginning, reads like he's a totally normal person. But he moved to Belize and is was a person of interest in multiple murders.
Gunboat or something, wasn't it? Out at sea with...
And then
he was traveling. That's different. That was when he was evading the police. So he got in trouble with stuff, and then he decided to move to international waters where everything's legal, where he's just running around on a boat with guns.
And he was claiming that the Belize government was trying to like execute him and arrest him. And the Belize government was like, we literally just wanted to question him. He's a crazy person. Like, it was basically like, he was acting like everyone was out to get him, and they weren't, but he was also doing all sorts of really shady shit. The movie goes over it, and he doesn't seem like a particularly good guy. But finally... Oh, and then he came back and ran for president.
Yes.
In the last election. So maybe,
a presidential candidate in trouble for tax evasion?
Yeah.
That seems weird.
And then finally, they arrest him for something. And it wasn't even something that was like, it's not like the mob, right? Where they're like, oh, we got you on this like technicality. Like you've been such a smart guy evading us. Now, he literally has said it. He has made public statements that he made money off of things and he hasn't paid taxes for 10 years. And the government probably doesn't like to hear that. Like, he's said this publicly.
He needs to hire Tesla's PR team, I think. Like, he's got the wrong message going on.
Yeah. I hear they're available, so that's good.
So he's literally said, I don't pay taxes. I think taxes are illegal, which... I'm not sure what definition he's getting of illegal.
I don't know. The people who collect the taxes, as I understand it, are also the ones who make the laws.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so being illegal to who?
Right.
Natural law? Is that we're all appealing to God at this point? What if you're an atheist? It's very confusing.
Yeah. His points don't make tons of sense, but it is interesting, and I'm sure he'll have some show on. So he got arrested in Spain. I think the indictment is for the U.S., though. And finally, he's going to jail after 10 years of being a complete wacko.
Spain, huh? That Spain feels like one of those ones that would have an extradition treaty. Like Venezuela, that's where you got to be.
Well, that's, I think, why
Russia.
he was down there at the time.
Yeah, why was he in Spain?
Yeah.
I don't know why he was in Spain now. He got kicked out of... He claimed the Belizean government was coming after him. He fled to Guatemala, but he wasn't allowed in Guatemala. And he faked a heart attack when he was in jail, waiting to be exported, so that deported, not exported. That's what you do with goods.
And he's bad.
Deported. Faked a couple heart attacks to give his lawyer more time, and he just okay. It literally reads like an Arrested Development plot. It's something like George Sr. would have done.
Yeah. Are we sure it's him and not like his twin brother Oscar that's been arrested here? Oscar McAfee.
Exactly.
So speaking about PR teams, though, this week or rather recently, it was reported that Tesla has dissolved their PR department, which is amusing because that news came out a couple of days after we recorded our episode where we were mocking Tesla about how bad their presentation skills are on Battery Day and that maybe they should have run it past the PR department and that the PR department should have made them practice. And so
that's why maybe that's what happened. And
well,
he's like, I don't want to practice.
Yeah, I don't want to practice. You're gone. Your entire department's gone. And this triggered me a little bit in Silicon Valley stuff where it's like, well, obviously your department sucks. Look at how bad our presentation was. It's like, well, you haven't funded us at all to do our jobs well. And it's actually also how the concept of the Republican Party and federal government. Federal government can't do anything. Well, you've defunded everything that they've done. So, when you sabotage it from within, they perform pretty poorly, guys. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the federal government's the answer to things, but there is a certain level of funding that's required to be successful at anything. And when you don't have that, the answer might not be take it down to zero. It might be maybe take it up 100%.
Yeah. It's an interesting move, and it doesn't really surprise me that much coming from Elon. Obviously he doesn't care that much about PR from our exact points the
But
last
that's
time.
not true. Like, that's why he smokes weed on podcasts, because it's good PR. I think he's just more Trumpian, where he believes he's the best PR and he doesn't need some professional telling him.
Yeah, it's a different kind of PR, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
I think he does pride himself on, like, they don't spend money on PR. They don't spend that much money on advertising. They don't do paid advertising. Like, as a Tesla shareholder, I've seen, like, on their every ballot, there's some guy that's trying to push them. He must be a marketing guy or something. He's like, I want Tesla to commit to paid advertising campaign. And that's like, he puts that
Mark
to the
Zuckerberg,
shareholders.
I think.
It's he's like, they need to advertise on Facebook. It's going to be great. We're no longer taking political ads after this election,
Right.
I heard. So now they need Tesla to do that. But what worries me, or what kind of bothers me, is, like, I think Elon's good and he'll take the company to some point, but at some point he'll get in his way, just if it is like a Trump strategy where you need to take counsel from other people, you need to take their inputs, you need to figure out, like, what is your core competency, where do you want to focus on. And we've talked, like, I think that we've talked about the valuation of the company before and just how what their growth could be, and I think I've compared it to Apple before on this. Like, I don't know that Elon's the one that's going to make that, and we talked about it on that episode too, that Apple had this very polished, beautiful presentation to announce their new products, and then Tesla comes out with something that's, like, done in a parking lot that had no production quality at all.
Yeah.
Like, there's a disconnect at some point if they're going to be like the Tesla's going to be the equivalent of Apple, but in the automotive or power and battery industry. Like, it's they need
not
a
just
little
like
more
how
polish.
terrible like their lack of polish is, and like the literal, like, highly visible corporate communications that they're failing to do. Like, here are, like, the blocking and tackling things that don't happen when you don't have a PR communications department. This is, like, directly from an article on a website called Electric, electrek.co. They do a lot of stuff on EVs. So, Tesla hasn't responded to a press inquiry in months. You receive the odd email here or there from former press people, but it seems like it's almost an unofficial capacity. If you're a reporter who doesn't get a response from Tesla, don't take it personally. It's due to the automaker having dissolved the entire PR team. Kaylee Suprizio is the last person to have officially been in charge of PR and communications. That person left last December. Following her departure, virtually every other member of the PR team has left or moved to other positions. Alan Cooper is the most senior member of Tesla's communication team, and his role has changed to Director of Demand Generation, which is not the same as PR and communications. So just imagine, like, you're, what's Tesla's valuation? It's over $100 billion, right?
Yeah, it must be, because Elon's worth like 30 or something like that now.
Yeah, so, like, they must get hundreds of press inquiries, I would imagine, in a week, if not in a day. And there is nobody
how many
to
countries
pick
are
up
they
the
in?
phone. Yeah, I mean,
It's not just the U.S. Like, they're expanding in Germany, China. Like, they're all over the globe, and it's
we
like,
heard this. Is this true? Nope. Not no one's gonna tell you. Like,
Right.
You have no, like, just the ability to shape, like, what somebody is going to write. Like, that should have economic value. Like, you could pay that, like, one person $1 million just to write emails, and it should
Right.
pay back based on the number of stories that people are writing off of what that person at Tesla is responding.
Well, the weird thing, like, it talks about, like, part of what they do is just, like, and it is probably good PR, good advertising. They'll, like, arrange for an influencer, a YouTube person, somebody that's got a Tesla podcast, like, to test a vehicle or see a vehicle or do something like that. But that almost to me seems so, like, it's so micro, so in the weeds of, like, getting Joe Schmo from Tesla YouTube channel to come in and it's like, oh, I'm going to demo out this new car and take a look at it. Like, it's good they're doing that, but it seems like the fact that they are doing that, they should have something a little bit more scaled up at a higher level.
I sort of get why they would do this, like, in the sense that they don't think it's necessary, right? Like, Tesla's got plenty of media and plenty of articles written about them and plenty of everything, and they really don't need to try very hard in that department. And they kind of brag about it with the advertising, but in reality, they would be advertising if they weren't talked about so much. And so that's great, except I think your points are very valid where it's like, eventually, well, you just need the blocking and tackling. Like you need, even if they get articles written about them without trying, there should be an arbiter of truth, right? Like there should be someone at the company saying, yes, that rumor is true. Yes, that rumor is false, or no comment, or whatever. On top of that, I think I agree a lot with just the polish of the company moving forward. And Elon stretched this out quite a bit, but eventually he's not going to be the person to take it into like a GE status where they're just an execution company.
Yeah.
And I think he thinks he is, and maybe he will be, but chances are it's going to be a later
like,
stage Travis situation.
Yeah, or I was thinking like Steve Jobs, where like eventually like Apple felt like they had to get rid of him, and then they brought him back, and then he got rid of himself.
Well, they were talking, 1/10 of valuation ago of Apple just buying them outright, and people were like, "Don't do it, it's a train wreck." And like maybe it would be a cultural train wreck because you have to deal with Elon.
Probably
then,
would
if
be. They're two totally different companies. Like that would be a mess.
But like, think of it this way: Apple bought Beats, and they're like, you know what? Dr. Dre, he's easier to work with than Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is insane.
Yeah.
We'll take the guy who used to be in NWA and get shot at.
I don't think, like, it would be hard to run Tesla inside of another company. It would be almost impossible because he's asking people to do ridiculous things. I also don't think that he'd ever sell it. Like, he would never sell it to Apple, and I think he's, like, the majority shareholder or something. At least a large one. And even Apple would have trouble, buying
Scheinert Wig
$400
Company,
million.
you could sit under that maybe. I feel like they're pretty
Scheinert
off,
Wigs,
but otherwise,
like Berkshire, that
could work.
Yeah, Warren Buffett would probably let him do whatever he wants.
Yeah. And he loves trains, so he probably would love cars too. I mean, perfect.
That's a very good point.
Well, speaking of logistics, there's another billionaire's company guy. He's a top 10 listener, Amazon. And there was some news about Amazon that it was just eye-opening when I saw the headline, and somewhat shocking. So you may have heard, again, there's this very small bug called COVID-19.
We got to call it COVID-19 because there's going to be a COVID-20. Like I've started to.
Good point.
Well, I think actually,
correct that.
I'm starting to think that the Amazon PR department called it COVID-19 because they have 19,000 Amazon employees that they have presumed are COVID-19 positive. When I saw that, I was like, "Holy crap, that is insane!"
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to actually look at like how many employees work for Amazon. You're like, all right, well, statistically speaking, that's actually a lot better than America.
That's low.
But it's still like, can you imagine if you say 5 months ago, we're like, imagine 19,000 Amazon employees got this. You'd be like, that's insane.
I was shocked to hear how many employees they have.
Yeah. Right, 19,000 is a huge company. Like if that was a company, that's massive.
That's a big company.
And that's a
your
small
top
share
1%
of
biggest
their company.
Employees in the world, probably. Yeah.
And they have 1 million $1.3 million because of like seasonal stuff, maybe 1.3 million just in the U.S. alone employees. Which, working at Northrop Grumman, we were like over 100,000 employees, and like that was like a big deal. And I didn't really kind of realize how big of a deal that was, but like that was like a massive employer.
Yeah.
And this is just dwarfs it. Dwarfs it easily.
The U.S. Department of Defense, which I don't know if you've heard of this, includes the effing Army, 3.2 million.
Yeah, there you go.
Just insane.
So 19,000, you're right. Like I first read that, I was like, that's a lot of people. And then I was like, percentage-wise, that's actually almost half of what they would have expected.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, they said they would have expected, 35,000 to have tested positive, given the rates in the U.S. So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I think there's 3 million teachers in the United States. So
wow.
It's just like, such scale.
We need to learn as long as we can get a bunch of shit delivered to us, like within a couple hours or a day. Like, What
Yeah,
other
I mean,
venue?
I certainly don't need to drive if you guys are going to deliver that shit to me. That's great.
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
But
Uber sent
19,000.
me. Speaking of delivering stuff, Uber sent me you get a free up to $30 dinner with like if you use Uber Eats. I have tried those things. Every one of those like ride sharing apps that says you're going to get a free something or $10 worth of something, they always find a way to screw you. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to say, "Oh yeah, you got to get $30 off to the next 10 meals or some."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lyft does that a lot where they're like, get $20 off your ride, but then it's like $2 off the next 10 rides.
Right.
Oh,
I guess it's
Well,
nice, but
that was the best coupon. So we used to run, I think I've told you guys this, but like the first thing that you make like the new MBAs do at Heinz is they do an ROI analysis on all of your marketing spend from the previous year. And so the highest ROI, I think, across all of the brands in North America was a coupon that our pasta sauce thing dropped that was, I think it was buy 3, get 1 free off of your next purchase. So you have to buy 3, it goes across the scanner, and then they print out on the receipt a coupon that says you get 1 free next time you come in. And so there's this thing called slippage in the coupon industry, which is people who like they take an action based on they're going to get this coupon and then they just forget to redeem the coupon. And so it was like we got all of these people that were going to buy 1 pasta sauce to buy 3 pasta sauces, and then like 85% of them don't ever redeem the coupon. And so it was like the highest ROI thing that anyone had ever done. We're like, yes, more of those. Do that thing more often.
Yeah. And it just like, after a while, it just annoys the shit out of people as it has like, I got that alert and I was like, I'm just going to delete this. I don't even care what it is because I know somehow it's not going to be what I think it is.
Well, I've used Postmates exactly 1 time. And that one time I used it, it was a $10 credit off of 1 delivery. And it was the first week I was in San Francisco.
I remember this. We were at the pool.
At the pool at Nema, your building, because we were staying for free with Apple in the building that you lived in while they were like, as part of our relocation package. And we ordered from the place across the street from Nema. It was a breakfast place called Toast. They had to deliver it across the street. It took 35 minutes. It came cold and soggy. And we still paid like $2 worth of delivery because the delivery was $12 to get it across the street. And I was like, Postmates, you're done to me. You're dead.
That's the exact experience I think of every time I think of Postmates. I'm like, this seems useless. Like, it's better off just not ordering whatever you thought was going to be so delicious because it's not going to be.
That's like I got a burrito earlier this afternoon. At Chipotle, and that there are people waiting. Like I always do the
like
app ordering because of COVID.
Yeah,
but no, there were like the DoorDash, the Postmates people, the Uber Eats. Drivers were waiting for it, and it's like I saw one order came up, and then like literally 10 minutes later, the next order came up, and like one was sitting there on the shelf. So it's like, who knows what order that guy's going to drop off those orders? Like people are getting burritos like an hour after they're made. Like what?
Yeah.
Well, this is why we need drone burrito delivery.
Obviously,
because if the drones just came in, they just stick them in the drone tube, and those things are off.
Just go through. But they need like restaurants could start to respond with like what they make. That seems more feasible to me. That the delivery people will be like, this is that will dictate the food.
Oh, yes.
This
is going to deliver better. So I'm only going to put these things on.
I like that idea.
That thing.
These are the foods that I'll sell. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is that is definitely something that people do. They also charge different fees, and so that's actually like a recommendation of the people, like that how they get restaurants to sign up for Uber Eats or DoorDash, because the fees that they charge are so exorbitant that they're just like DoorDash will be like, well, just charge more money on the menu for DoorDash, and then it'll be fine. So it's like if we're gonna take a 30% cut, just like mark up your food 30%, and people will buy, and then it's no risk to you or whatever, right?
Kind of makes sense.
They can change their prices. They can also change what appears on DoorDash. But we also had that story that we did on DoorDash where the guy never signed up for DoorDash, and he was getting calls and complaints and negative reviews because people are saying their pizza showed up cold when it got delivered, and he's like, we don't deliver. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't even, like, we're not listed on any delivery apps. And then all of a sudden they realized, DoorDash had listed them without them knowing, which I think, like, they've been sued for, but I don't know.
They should have been. That is kind of screwed up.
Well, I know
Grubhub put out of business.
Grubhub has been sued for, but I don't know what the deceit. Well, but you're still ordering your Chipotle burritos from them.
No, I ordered Chipotle on the Chipotle app. And
then you go pick
I'm saying
them up?
I see all the, like, I don't know who's ordering a burrito getting DoorDash delivery, and it's not like that guy's just going to pick up yours. He's, like, DoorDash is smart. They figured out, like, here are all the orders that came in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
This guy's going to pick up all those and take them. So you've got, like, one burrito that might have been made at 1 o'clock, and the last one's made at like 1:20,
1:15,
and then he's going out and delivering them. And who knows? It's not like he's like got this FIFO CPA accounting system going on where he's like, okay, I got to deliver this 1 o'clock burrito first. Like your 1 o'clock burrito could get you at 2:30. Like it's not going to be a good burrito.
Yeah.
What about, since the post office is all shutting down, maybe we could we could use those letter carrier tubes to send burritos throughout a city.
Yeah,
I think that would work.
Well, then the food would be dictated not what it is, but just by the shape. Like you can only send burrito shaped food, and if we get there fresh, but it's like everything has to be in burrito form to go through the tubes.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like containerization of food. That's like what is this? Oh, it's filet mignon, but it's in a burrito because it's easy to shoot through. It's perfect.
That Sushi-Rito company was really a little bit ahead of their time.
Oh yeah,
come out.
Do you guys ever have that Sushi-Rito?
Yeah. I did.
It was a no, it was a storefront, right?
Yeah, it was a storefront near my office in San Francisco.
By my office too.
It was okay. Some people loved it. It was too much raw fish.
That's what for me. Just too much raw fish. Like
they had non-fish. Like I think they had a non-raw fish.
I think they did, like shrimp or something. Which I think I did that, and that was good.
Catered at the office, and they usually
anyone who doesn't know what Sushi-Rito is. So if you don't happen to not live in the San Francisco Bay Area, it's basically, I think of a sushi roll only in burrito size, right? Which is just like a lot of raw fish. It's basically like,
the texture is off.
It's the size of a fish. It's like what it is.
Yeah,
it's just like it's like, let me just eat an entire fish amount of meat.
There was like rice around the outside, there was something to it, but then there was this like hunk of raw fish in the middle, and you're like, it
was aggressive.
There's a reason sushi rolls are small.
But so some of the one of the things you just said there though was like repurposing how we get burritos around cities made me think about since this whole COVID thing has been happening in San Francisco, I've been noticing one, obviously there's a ton of like parking spots are just going away because they're building these outdoor seating areas in them, and it's multiplying. Like every week, like in my neighborhood, there are, I want to say, it's got to be 1/5 the number of parking spaces on Cortlandt that there used to be, because every single restaurant has an outdoor seating area in front of it, which like in my neighborhood, it works and I'm in favor of, and that's fine. In other neighborhoods, it's a little bit different, but also like you think about other main eating corridors in San Francisco, you guys will know this, people who are listening will probably not understand this, but like one of them is Hayes Valley. So, like that main corridor where the restaurants are in Hayes Valley.
Yep.
We drove past it yesterday, blocked off, bicycles and people only. It was like, Broadway in New York where cars aren't allowed to go now. It was like people are just walking and it looked great. Not necessarily what you want in a pandemic in terms of the quantity of people there, but like looked like it was a fun place to be. Valencia for 5 blocks every weekend is blocked off, no cars, with people just like walking back and forth. And so how you navigate the city with a car is changing. And this is something that these types of changes and how people navigate around cities, which we talked about before, will only accelerate how big the changes are going to be when autonomous driving happens. And, hey, these are the places where you can drive, these are the places you can't. Likely riding bikes is going to be a bigger thing because there's going to be half as many streets that you're allowed to drive a car on. And we're going to have to figure out how to get these damn burritos down the street. And nobody wants all these drones flying over my house. So I want a burrito tube. I want a human tube next to a burrito tube. and just fly underneath
Well,
the ground.
You
and we get where we need
got
to
to
be.
put the Chipotle at the top of some of those big like Scott Street or other streets with the big hills.
Gravity
and
fed,
then-
yeah.
Just like gravity fed burrito tubes going down to all of San
that makes a
Francisco.
lot of sense too. So that brings up another thing, and this is really interesting. Halloween. So in my neighborhood, they have a thing where I haven't seen it. Somebody told me about it today, and they said, if you look around on like the different light poles, there'll be a flyer, and there's a QR code, and you can snap it with your phone to mark your house as a house that it will distribute candy to kids in a safe manner. And safe is like a no-touch manner. And so the two ways that they're suggesting is either fishing line with a clothespin, where you can drop it down to them and they just pull the candy off of it, or PVC piping that you're shooting down from a window to the street. And I was like, well, you just created a fun project for me, which means I don't have to hang out with my family and I can create some PVC pipe. So yeah, you're damn right I'm going to deliver some candy to kids.
That sounds like, that's a great idea. Huh. Go ahead, Sean.
I saw a neighbor when this started got a birthday delivery from a friend. I'm assuming it was their birthday, like across the street on their balcony, and they basically dropped down like a rope and they tied on this little basket and brought it back up. So I thought that was pretty clever, but I haven't seen much of that since then. But trick or treat makes more sense because you can just kind of throw it. You've got the gravity assist. You're not going back the other way. Right. I don't know how they get the tricks back up at you. Like if you're got to worry about somebody using your PVC pipe as say a potato gun from the other end and like shooting potatoes back up at you if they don't like your treats, they might give you like a little trick going.
That would be problematic.
It's a great idea though.
I'm
wondering what I'm going to do with Halloween. So usually I don't really.
Do you think there's a lot of people coming through the retirement community for Halloween?
Hundreds every year. Hundreds. Like it's like I think. We're not technically in a retirement community, but there's like a lot of neighborhoods over here, and there are a lot of older people in the area. But I think that's why, because they have fun doing it. And so like families and buses are showing up, and like people like are just, I don't know if buses are showing up, but it seems like there must be, because like literally it's constant. And so I don't want to be, I'm also in Florida. Who the hell knows what percentage of people are going to have COVID or care about masks or anything. So it's like
they would normally have worn a mask for trick or treat, but they're just so anti-mask now. Take them off.
So I don't know what I'm gonna do. If I'm gonna try to do it and like put a bucket out.
I don't even know if I'm allowed to say your girlfriend's name on air. I don't know if we've discussed this before.
We can.
Is Nikki going to be there for this?
She's going to be there for this. So
okay, so I would say like now you got a team, so like you can set up an assembly line of this. A couple of ideas: get up on the roof, right? And you could just fire off the mini Snickers, and that'd probably be okay.
I don't think the roof is a doable situation though. It's a 1-story house, and the roof is slate.
Ooh.
So slates, like I wouldn't be super comfortable standing up there.
Okay, so we'll go back to plan B: potato gun.
Potato gun.
Fire these fucking things. That's just plan B. Is just potato gun.
Just a candy shotgun. That's all.
Yeah, you know what? You could get on. What kind of cars you got at the Florida house?
I got my Jeep, and we got Audi.
All right. So I was gonna, but the Jeep, you only have a soft top on there, huh?
Yeah.
I guess you could sit on the hood of the Jeep. And you could just have sign markers of where people are allowed to stand, and you just fire them off the top of the Jeep.
That's not a bad idea.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, sit on the Jeep and just throw them at people.
And then you just have a bar. Like that's
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
All right, it's a good
idea.
I
would think I'd get like probably 2 30-packs of Coors Light, so dads can fish through there, because those are containerized, and they're basically washing their hands as they dip it into the water and ice.
There you go.
Shape. Yeah,
I like this idea. And if anyone has any better ideas, tweet us. I'd like to hear the Halloween separation ideas.
In San Francisco, I was thinking of like a double situation. I was thinking like one is like the COVID safe tube that you drop the candy down for the kids, and then one is the anti-COVID safe tube, which is just like beers that dads can funnel as they're taking their kids around. So that everyone's putting their mouth on it. So it's literally the complete opposite level of safety. But hey, taking risk in your own hands. You're an
I
adult.
did
You're over 18.
choices. Choices.
I saw a clip of somebody that had set up basically like a candy/beer delivery system, but it was like beer in a can, so it wasn't you weren't sharing a funnel mouth, but with the intention of trick or treat. And I thought that was pretty nice, but I didn't know like how. It seems like that's not even a thing. Like you're just giving out beer to people. That's allowed. Like how do you know? Like it's going to adults. It's like a kid in a mask. Yeah, who knows?
Well, like last year we went. There's these two houses in my neighborhood where my neighborhood there's a road called Powhatan, and it's very hilly in San Francisco. So Powhatan stops, and then there's like a dirt trail that goes through, like what they call. There's many of these in our neighborhood called community garden, and like you can go through the dirt trail, and there's kind of like flowers and stuff on either side, and then it comes out and it lands on this driveway that is a shared driveway between two houses, and you walk up the driveway, and then Powhatan continues. But it's like a community thoroughfare. People are allowed to walk up it. And the people who own those two houses are very nice and very social. And on Halloween last year, they were having a Halloween party. So after your kids did their whole thing on the main street where everyone's giving out candy and all the shops are giving out candy, you walk up to their house, and they had like kind of a haunted house projector thing, and they just had like a booze table out for parents. And I was like, nice. I've never met you guys, but you just have like a whole pile of booze out here. And it's like, this seems cool, but I also feel weird just drinking a stranger's booze. Like this is like what they told me not to do on Halloween with like
I was in
candy
college
apples.
and did this.
Yeah. It's strange.
Yeah, that is strange, but nice. Those things should be able to happen, and it's kind of a shame that it's so, there's legal implications and everyone's questioning it, because I don't disagree with you. It seems almost weird, but it shouldn't. It should be good.
Exactly. There was, I'm not going to say anyone's names, but there's somebody who is a friend of ours whose parents were complaining or at one point told us how they were upset about this, where, like Saturday soccer in like, the town we grew up in, like everybody who's like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old is playing soccer in their rec league until like they start doing football or they stop playing soccer or whatever. And so this happens at like 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning. So these guys were just like setting up a Bloody Mary stand on Saturday mornings at the 7-year-old soccer game. And they were having a great time. And, somebody decided that they said, maybe this is not the best thing for you guys to be doing at 7 a.m. at Blocktown Field, which is probably true. You don't want to get tuned up and then drive your kids home.
It's not the best idea.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But, it sounded fun in a world with Uber.
Yeah, that's true.
Tell us about capitalism, Sean.
So I saw this story this morning about capitalism moving to the great beyond of space. Apparently, the astronauts on the International Space Station are receiving a delivery from Estee Lauder of a skincare serum that Estee Lauder is paying, I suppose, NASA $17,500 per hour to have the astronauts who are on the space station, I guess, take pictures, photos, and video of the product in space. This product they sell for $105 per bottle. I've never used this serum. I don't know if you guys are big Estee Lauder guys or not.
Can't say that I am.
They're paying them to basically take pictures of it. The astronauts won't be in it, but they want like the iconic view of they call it the cupola window on the space station that like they can see the Earth. It'll look all pretty just for some cosmetics advertisements that they'll use on social media. But what I found strange about this, it's not the first time they've done this, I guess, but the NASA's like plan going forward is essentially they said as part of the story, they plan to dedicate up to 5% of astronauts' time on commercial and business activities in space. So it's like becoming like they kind of phrase it as like
they're people pay attention to them. So.
Social media influencers, but they're not using their likenesses. They're not appearing in that, or it's most the influencer is the space station or Earth or orbit, space exploration. But it just seemed strange to me. I think we've talked about this before with like when NASA was first coming about, when astronauts were a thing, like it was new and cool. They were explorers. They were going out like risking their lives, doing crazy stuff. Now it's like they've just got. We saw like Bob and Doug going up in the SpaceX thing, like that. It was cool to see them, but they were just kind of like two out of shape old dudes riding in a thing that a bunch of dudes on Earth programmed and told where to go. Like they're not really pilots anymore. I'm sure those guys are great at flying, but they just sit in a capsule. It just like it took all the excitement, the luster out of space exploration for everyone. I'm like, oh, NASA's now like just becoming a social media influencer in a way to like generate some money.
Stellar astronaut.
Yeah.
Just murder me.
I think you should blame society for this, Sean, because
absolutely
this
sucks.
It's like you see the astronauts and people are like, yeah, whatever, who cares? It's just space. And then someone has
bunch
like
of nerds who know math.
Like a YouTuber gets their own flavor of ice cream at Walmart, and it's like, what is going on? Why does anyone give a shit about these people? But they do. And I think NASA is trying like a hearts and minds type situation, right? They're trying to like be relevant, be cool.
Yeah.
Because they need people to be interested in space to get the funding. And I think that's a good strategy, but it is a sad
they're becoming like I would just pick hearing 5% of astronauts' time. So that's somewhere I saw the metric. It's 90 hours of crew time. I think this year it didn't give the time frame, but 90 hours of time on the International Space Station. It's like they're competing for. Granted, they're not going to be able to. They probably allocated their time throughout, like sleeping, eating, all the things they can do.
Sure,
but there's like scientific research. There's things. There's like people are competing for this time in space. It's like, do they need my Estee Lauder
literally
eye serum?
the top tier like scientist in your field. You are at the top of your physical condition. You've passed all of these tests to be able to like be in space for a long, like extended period of time, and like your mental acuity and like your discipline. Like you can do this. All right, great. Can you do this ad for Big Red? If you don't chew Big Red in space, fuck you.
But don't you want then your skin face health to be at that level of perfection as well?
Well, this is the part that pisses me off. That actually would be a really good thing. It's like, oh yeah, it's dry in space and they'll use this. But then I read this line from the article. Astronauts won't actually be using the brand's night repair multi-recovery complex. What the fuck?
They're
sending this shit into the goddamn fucking space station, and the goddamn astronauts aren't even fucking using it.
They're not going to use it because they're sending it back to Earth to auction it off, which that's like the one redeeming quality of it. Like they'll auction off this $105 thing for $100,000 for charity to say it went to space, but they're not even allowed to use it. Like the product, to your point, Mike, like it would be exciting to me if I'm like, okay, it's space tested. Like I think the astronauts
Velcro.
use the Omega Speedmaster wristwatch. Like that watch is very high up in my book of like watches I'd want to have because
Spaceballs flamethrower. That's the flamethrower I'm buying. Like, yes, I'm 100% with you. But something that like is connected to the rigors of that environment, and actually like an anti-aging, like anti-drying thing.
They could make that argument.
See how that could be connected, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody in that brand department needs to get kicked in the hoots for not figuring this out. Like that is just pissing me off.
It's got to cost them. So they're paying $17,000 per hour, but they're also paying to send it there, which probably isn't cheap. I think it's something like, it's like $10,000 or $100,000 per pound.
And they're shooting up in a Northrop Grumman rocket, so we know how those guys are with their cost
and those
efficiency.
things crash all the time, as far as I know.
No, that wasn't a Northrop Grumman rocket. But this rocket, I worked on it, and it was specifically designed for Estee Lauder products. It's got like velvet lining.
It's got a makeup counter in there, like
makeup counter in there. Yeah.
Some poor mall employee that's furloughed because of COVID had to ride up with this shit.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yep. Yeah, that's a weird one.
Society. Next thing you know, some bullshit like reality TV star is going to get elected president, and we're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah. Next thing you know.
The other thing, I guess, way back, I don't even remember it when you said reality TV star, though. I remember it. Didn't he have a Pizza Hut pizza, Donald Trump?
God,
or he's on the Big New Yorker commercial. That was
I
like
could
one of
see
his
that.
claims to fame. I think that was even like in the recent New York Times about his tax, like where they're trying to figure out how he actually makes money since his businesses lose money. And like The Apprentice, a Pizza Hut, like big New Yorker commercial that he was getting paid for was like a big source of revenue for him. But apparently in
That guy has no
2001,
money.
I don't remember the stunt, but Pizza Hut delivered a pizza on a cargo ship to the International Space Station. At least that, assuming the astronauts were allowed to eat it. I don't know. Like if
I
they
would
get
hope so.
grease all over all the controls.
Donald Trump is in a Pizza Hut stuffed crust pizza commercial from 1995, and he's apparently got a long relationship because in
Pizza Hut,
2000 he was in the New Yorker TV
Big
ad.
New Yorker, yeah.
Wow.
Jeez Louise.
Recurring segment, yeah. Good for him.
What were you just saying that was driving me nuts about that made me super angry? Oh, like I want to, like, because it's related to business. What is your take on, if you guys read the New York Times stuff on their taxes, like where it says he owes a bunch of money and whatever? Do you think that he actually has money, or is he poor? Okay.
I think he is. I don't think he has money. I think he owes like
His net worth is negative.
Hundreds of millions of dollars to Deutsche Bank. And it is one of those situations where I bought this book, The Black Towers, and it's about Deutsche Bank and like how they basically take all sorts of they were doing a lot of risky things just to catch up with like the bigger banks because they were kind of behind at the time. I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited to read it. I listened to the author on a podcast, and it's basically like one of the divisions of Deutsche Bank lent Trump money to pay off another division of Deutsche Bank. How that happens, I don't understand. I mean, obviously not a very good bank.
I can understand how that happens.
But
internally, where you want the optic, I could definitely see how like somebody be like, "Well, just wipe it off this thing. We need it to look good." This other thing
and we'll start a new loan. But it becomes one of these situations where if you owe someone whatever $1,000, you're in their debt, or they're in charge. If you owe someone $20 million, you're in charge.
You're in charge.
They want the money.
They're screwed at that point. And they have no choice. Yeah.
Trump has kind of gotten himself into that situation where it's like he owes so much money to them probably that they're just going to let him do. Like, what are they going to do? They're going to bankrupt him? They're not going to do anything. They're just going to like hope that he pays it back over a longer period of time.
So this is my perspective on it. I think that, so first of all, let me, just in case there's any question out there, Donald Trump is a huge dumpster fire turd. Worst person on the planet. So, like, don't take anything I say after this to say that I think that he is intelligent or has achieved anything, because he has not. He is a garbage human, and you should do everything you can to avoid him. But I do think, like, based on what I have seen, at least written out in some of these articles about his tax returns, there's nothing in there that would indicate to me that, like, hey, you know what, he's not worth a lot of money. So they said he made $400+ million in income from the whole Apprentice stuff. Great. Mm-hmm. And then they say he owes $400 million to Deutsche related to a bunch of stuff, but he also owns these 30 golf courses, right? And they say, oh, well, each one of them loses money. I think they probably maybe do lose money, like even other than like depreciation, because he doesn't know how to run a business. He's an idiot. But I also think like to owe $400 million on 30 luxury golf courses is probably not a terrible like debt to asset ratio. Like nobody went into what that is. You
would be paying that money back theoretically off of the profits of those, or even the revenue, right? So like they could be money losing businesses, but that's part of the money lost situation,
right?
But do you get the sense he owns those courses? Because I've seen like a lot of his, like he licenses his name. Like you're saying he's got 30 courses.
I think he
does.
Those courses,
own some. It's my understanding with
he actually like outright no debt on that.
No, probably debt.
There's definitely debt.
Yeah,
but like he owns the equity on the courses, and there's debt that offsets that equity. But like what you're talking about, Sean, is that in many of the properties where it says this is a Trump casino or a Trump hotel or whatever, it's like, he's getting paid $10 million and he has no relationship to actually managing it. And that's actually one of the things they said in the article is his most successful investments are the ones that he's
not involved
no
in.
touching on, because when he manages something, it's a train wreck.
Yeah.
But if somebody else is managing it who knows how to actually manage real estate and didn't take all their money from their dad, but he just gets $10 million because his name's on it, then he's doing okay. And maybe he gets some kick off of like the profit sharing from how like the actual management realty works. But I think
what you're saying
ahead.
about the 400 million, you can't write like, it's not like he's got 30 golf courses worth 30 million each, so he's got money against the 400
No,
million
I think
of debt.
that is
like
what the case is. I think that's what it is. I think he buys a golf course and like he leverages it to whatever it might be, maybe 50%.
Okay.
And so if the golf course increases in value, then great. But he's like got all these things, and there's all these other things with depreciation, right? Where like, he's quote unquote losing money. He's not necessarily losing cash. Like he might put cash outlays, like all these things, but he gets
the scam he's got going pays for his entire life. Like that's how he doesn't have wealth in the way you would think of it. Like you're sitting on a bunch of like a big pile of money. He's not Scrooge McDuck with the gold
actual
coins
money
in a vault, but he's created this situation for himself where it's like he can pay for everything that he needs. What I think he has done wrong, he's
like
so
gold
averse
toilets.
to paying taxes. Yeah, beautiful gold toilets that he can write off because it's an endangered precious mineral that we're running out of or something.
Well, no, but specifically, there's a place in upstate New York that his
it's a family
kids
retreat.
are say like this is the family retreat. This is where we would spend all of our time, and it's owned by the corporation.
Business write-off.
And they took a $21 million tax write-off to like protect the woods outside of their own property that is basically a vacation home, right? And so. Yeah, he's using the whole business to like fund his entire lifestyle and then take tax credits off of it.
And he's so fixated on not paying taxes that I think that to his debt, like he's thinks he's so clever by losing all this money because he's optimizing to like the wrong parameter. He's like, I want to minimize my tax liability to zero. It's like if you were good at business, who said that? Nick Kroll at the end of his shows, I think. If you're good at business, then you want to minimize your tax liability, but it's like you're trying to maximize your profit first. And maybe you're making decisions. Right. Like I don't think he understands that.
Cash is king is what they say, right? So as long as you're bringing in cash, that's what matters. Like what you ideally want to do is have far more cash coming in than going out and zero tax liability. I think he might be forgetting the cash part to get to the tax liability part.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, I don't know. It's crazy. But like the other part that people constantly talk about is like, well, if he just took the money that his dad gave him or that he inherited from his father and put it in a low risk mutual fund, he would be richer than he is now. I was like, yeah, but he blew so much cash on porn stars and hookers.
Yeah.
He probably got a pretty good return on the money he did.
He subsidized his lifestyle without spending much of his money.
Yeah. Exactly. So you got to think about that. Like this guy spent a shit ton of cash on bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's weird. It's a weird situation.
Well, I cannot wait till the time when I never talk about that piece of crap again. Please, God, not too long from
Hopefully
when this
not too
podcast
long.
comes out. We'll never hear about him again.
Or 4 years from now. We'll see.
Was that the last story? Was that it?
That's all she wrote.
Do you have a recommendation, Sean?
Recommendations. Remember we had a exciting robo-advisors fintech episode months years back? I finally got into using Wealthfront.
Look at that.
Moved a personal investment account, individual account there. I rolled over a little bit of an IRA there. I've been pretty happy with it. So friends of TWPWK, I'm happy to share this referral link with you. Click it, set up an account. You'll love it. You'll get a little something. I'll get a little something. I think it's nice. Mike, I think you use it. I don't know if you do, Jeff.
I do not, but no.
It's a good way to automate some investments.
Yeah, I have probably 75% of my IRA in there and soon to be 100%. So it's great. And my 529s for my kids.
Ooh.
Now, did you look at Betterment at all?
I
think at the time I did. I mean, this is like you're going back now 4 or 5 years when I made this decision to shift over there, and like they were pretty similar. Somebody else was telling me I use Betterment, I use Wealthfront. I don't know what made me choose Wealthfront over Betterment, but they seemed similar to me. I don't think I recall anything that was like, oh, this is significantly better. But Sean, you said you looked at it. Was there a reason you chose Wealthfront over Betterment?
I actually chose both of them and funded a small account in each of those because I realized like I wanted to like let them compete against each other. I would say Wealthfront, from an investment standpoint, I think they're probably pretty similar. One thing I liked about Wealthfront is
both index funds.
It's an economist in charge of it, so obviously like going to be a pretty smart robot. I thought Betterment was more focused on goals, which I didn't necessarily need. Like if you were trying to figure out, okay, I need to start accumulating wealth, saving wealth. How am I going to do this? I have these goals. I want to buy a boat. I want to buy a house. I want to save for retirement.
I got to hang my Trump 2020 flag from something.
I made $1,200 this year. I want to buy a boat. How do I do that, Betterment?
But you could do, I think Betterment has more options. Wealthfront, you basically go in and set your risk score. Like and they'll show you like what that means and walk you through it if you don't quite know what that'll do. But once you set that, and you can set it on each account you have, that's about it. In Betterment, what I liked about it, you could pick like if you wanted, say like, I think they use the term ESG as like environmental, social, and something for like funds that will invest in companies that are more environmentally focused, socially justice focused, things like that. But so you have more flexibility in that. So I kind of like that about Betterment, but I think overall I just like the look and feel of Wealthfront a little bit more. But
I think that's
still demoing them out. Maybe one will win me over. I funded 2 accounts, similar setup, similar amounts of money. Within like a week of each other. It's like a race.
Yeah, we should do like a monthly update, like which one's winning.
Who's winning?
That idea.
Yeah. All right.
You guys give your recs. I'll tell you who's in the lead right now when we're back to me.
So my wife came in. She gets RSUs and she gets cash bonus at various times of their year, and so she got this cash bonus, and I was like, "Oh, this is we always forget about the cash bonus, frankly, because it's less than the RSUs." Oh, this is great. I'll take that, and after taxes, we'll just push all of that into the 529s, which are the college saving accounts for our kids, and that'll fund them for the year. What I always forget about is also this time of year is when I receive my property tax bill from the city of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Which is
that's
basically,
cheap.
Nope.
You don't just, I thought they roll it all in.
You have to pay it in 2 installments. The first installment is, it's optional of whether you roll it into your monthly payment. When we bought the house, I told them to roll it into the monthly payment, and they didn't. And so, now I have to pay a bill every 6 months and remember to pay somebody $10K. So anyway, it is what it is.
That's painful. Oh, yeah. So your recommendation is property tax?
Not do that.
Pay your property taxes.
No, actually, I do have an anti-recommendation this round, which is to not. I recommend not doing something. So you guys, Jeff, I believe you're a Google household, and Sean, you're an Alexa household in terms of your automations. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So I was messing around with. Obviously, we're an Apple household, and I was playing with a house app, the Home app in Apple, and I noticed they have this concept of a hub where if you have an iPad, that can be your hub for your home and you can do a bunch of stuff. And I was like, that'd be kind of cool if I kind of set that up, and maybe that could get me into automating the lights and this kind of thing. And we could get an iPad for the wall. That's our hub. So I started messing around with some of the automations. So one of the automations you can do is when you arrive at your house. And so to fool around with that, I set an automation for when I arrive home, the HomePod in our home will play the song "The Champ Is Here." So, it's a rap song. I don't even know what any of the lyrics are, other than the first 20 seconds of the song is from the movie Ali with Will Smith, and it's just on repetition of somebody yelling, "The champ is here! The champ is here!" And so, I set it up, and I immediately forgot about it. And every time I walk in the door, I start hearing this thing yell. I'm like, "Why is this thing yelling at me? What is going on? What is this song? Why is it playing?" And I'm like, "I'm an idiot." And undoing it is not like, just like, "Hey Siri, don't do this anymore." It's like actually like a thing. So like I still haven't done it. It's been like 5 days. I'm like, God damn, I can't believe I did this.
It's just easier to like throw away your phone, I think, at this point.
Yeah, just never bring it into the house. The champ is here. The champ is here.
I mean, I do love that. Given how many people you live with, it's just like, I would imagine that would really annoy them, but in a hilarious way.
Well, it's like I just walk in and like my, small children, 5 and 2, are like just listening to aggressive rap. Every time I walk in, this is a poor choice. Anyway, but in my head, I was like envisioning something that was more like when you would get a text message.
Yeah, like a short little thing.
From like AOL Instant Messenger. Like I used to have the riff from Big Pimpin' as
like a ringback.
Yeah, somebody would IM me on AOL Instant Messenger, and I would get do like that. That's what it should be.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So your rec is don't automate things.
Don't automate your arrival at your house if you have the chance, or if you do, like spend a little time on what the thing that will play is, and don't make it an aggressive rap song that maybe will scare your children. Jeff, what's your recommendation?
Good one. Mine is Jim McGaffigan, The Pale Tourists, his new special on Amazon Prime. I do love Jim McGaffigan. I think I recommended one of his other specials before, Quality Time, which is also awesome. I keep turning this on because I have an Amazon Fire, and I'm like, I'll watch like 5 minutes of it, just see if it's any good. And then I just sit there cracking up for like at least a half an hour. And so, it's good. It's on Amazon Prime. I think he deals exclusively with them for the last couple specials. And it's worth watching.
Nice. I got the race update here. Wealthfront. Both accounts were funded about approximately 1 month ago, about 4 or 5 business days apart, just how it all worked out and the money getting there and the investments being made. So slight little difference in timing, but Wealthfront up 2.28%, Betterment up 2.64%. So Betterment outpacing Wealthfront in the first month.
That's a hell of a freaking month for an index fund.
Have you seen the stock market these days? I think if I bought in at a different period, it would have been like negative in the other direction. So.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not bad.
The other thing that's good about the Wealthfront, and I imagine Betterment probably has done this as well, is they do the tax loss harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys familiar with the tax loss harvesting?
I am, but you should explain it because I don't think most people are.
Yeah, well, I'll explain it poorly.
They've got a white paper on it if you want a better explanation later.
Yeah. So the gist of it is, and like they have also other things like aggressive tax loss harvesting, which you have to have like $100,000 or more in.
That's
there
like the Trump plan. It just tries to get you
Trump plan.
negative gains every year.
Yeah, that's right. So the idea is that when you I don't know if I even want to get into like all of the concept of like diversification, but when you're buying a suite of stocks, there is a certain risk associated with it, and there is you can buy a different suite of stocks. So let's say you buy 30 stocks, and you're like, okay, this kind of diversifies me against all these risks. This is how much I think it should go up, and this is how much the risk is going to going down. You could also buy a different set of 30 stocks that has the exact same profile. So if you have these stocks and in a given period, let's say 3 months, they're down 10%, if you sell those stocks, you take a loss, which you can claim on your taxes and reduce your taxes. And if you can't buy those stocks back immediately because that's
called the wash rule.
It's called a wash sale. Yeah,
within
the government's
30 days.
wise to that plan. They're like, hey, dummy, you can't just reduce your taxes and then like buy the exact same thing back. You have to have a 30-day window, which the stock could go up or down in the 30 window. That's no good, right? So, but what you can do is buy a different suite of stocks, which is effectively the exact same thing statistically, and therefore you could take the loss, but still be in the market and realize the gain. And so Wealthfront, and I presume Betterment does the same thing, has this feature where if they see that you're down a certain amount, they're able to have you accept this loss and reduce your tax liability and still keep you in the market through things that are very similar from what they sold. It's interesting.
And because it's a robo-advisor, they should be avoiding I get nervous of those things because who knows what a wash sale actually is or counts as. Like even the way you described it, Mike, it sounded like it's like, well, if I bought like a financial sector ETF and sold it and then bought a different financial sector ETF, then I think that counts, but it's harder the further away you get away.
They could be holding the same
if I sold
stocks,
Wells Fargo, bought Wells Fargo again, that's very clear because it's like you've bought the exact same thing, but the way the rules read, it's like it's got to be if it's substantially similar or some legal type term like that nobody's quite sure what it might mean. But I trust I'd rather have it be blamed on Wealthfront or Betterment than me making that mistake. It's like, they did it.
Yeah, that's fair.
IRS, come after them.
Deal with them. Yeah. Deal with them.
Do you have a shameless plug, Sean?
Shameless plugs. The new and improved twpwk.com.
Woo woo.
Check it out.
Yeah.
It really is it's really upgraded, guys. I'm not lying.
I'm checking it out right now, and I have only previously checked it out on my phone, and I'm checking it out on my desktop now.
Ooh, a whole different experience.
Whew. All the glory is just pouring in on me right now. How this gradient of red to dark red is going across the T, the W, the P, and then the last W, P, and K.
Spend way too much time worrying about the gradients on this page. I don't know why I do it. I should just
because
use
you
red.
care, Jeff. Because you care.
That's
and
true.
If you care about the podcast, guys, and I'll just illustrate to you how much the color scheming and the gradient matters. When you go to twpwk.com from your desktop browser, you will see this immediately. You will see the icon at the top of the page of twpwk, and you'll be like, that is just majestic. It's regal. It's magnificent. And then you'll scroll down and you'll see the color scheme on the Spotify logo, and you will say, who is the insane, sick human who picked that terrible color green? And you will say, thank you, Jeff Baldwin. Thank you for giving a crap, because whoever picked that Spotify logo is a human piece of shit who should run for the presidency of the United States via the Republican Party. What a garbage pile.
It is a very bright green that they use.
Damn.
It's a strange
terrible
choice, yeah.
When they switched, this is what's the worst thing about it. They switched to that. It wasn't like, oh shit, we're a startup. Let's just get a bunch of stuff done. Oh, any green will do. They had a green that was acceptable, and they picked that turd bucket.
It's nice
later.
that it stands out, though. There are so many, when I look at apps on my phone, that's one that stands out. There's so many things that are in blue.
Oh yeah, look at this. I'm having a good time. Oh, this is the thing that violates my eyeballs to the point where I should be suing them.
That you close your eyes and then listen with your ears. I mean, I don't know.
Garbage. Absolute garbage pile. Yes.
Okay.
It's a different color than blue.
It is.
Spotify.
It's
What's
literally
your
the same
shameless
color
plug?
as WhatsApp messages on iPhone. The
No,
phone,
it's not literally the same.
The phone on iPhone, all of these screens.
Shenanigans. Bullshit factory. Bookcasecoffee.com. We don't have terrible color greens on bookcasecoffee.com. If you need to settle yourself down because you were just on your phone and you tried to click on the Spotify app and you're like,
it's a color of my Wealthfront portfolio, all green.
Yeah.
Burn.
Yeah. It is a terrible green. So if you just need to chill out and spend some time with your family to relax, have a little Bookcase Coffee. Take some time to be with the people you love. That's what Bookcase Coffee is all about. Bookcasecoffee.com. Jeff.
Thebubbleboard.com. If you're all hopped up on caffeine and you need to trade some stocks, just go there. Watch everything turn colors during the day. Green is included. Nice. Hopefully more green than red. That's the idea. Bubbleboard.com.
Sell red.
Is there some sort of concept of an auto reload there, Jeff?
There is, yes. I am basically like, there's timeouts for everything reloading. So each thing reloads. I think I put it every like 10 seconds with some randomness in there. So yeah.
Nice. I'm looking at my current portfolio. Whatever the last day was, Berkshire Hathaway was up 0.06%.
Big
It's
one.
not a big
PLXP
mover usually.
Up
No.
up 3%, and CVET down 2.5%. All right.
Nice. All right, everyone. Thanks for
Thanks
listening.
for listening.
Talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Worst People We Know was recorded, edited, and produced in the Golden State, with a little bit of help from the Sunshine State.
The Sunshine State. Gorgeous.
Thank you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe and find us on Twitter at TWPWK. Thanks.
Five, 4, 3, 2. Nice.
Clappy clap.
Okay.
All right, Sean, take us away.
I got the clap. I got the clap.
Not if you were using Champ like you should. Playing tennis, quote unquote, with Finn, whatever they were doing, and he
Right.
hurt his shoulder. And I
Prison
know they
rules
have-
or just regular?
Huh? Prison
rules or just
yeah, he wasn't. Finn is mean during prison rules. Oh, it's definitely the bright ceramics of ice, but it's in the Mission, and it's attached to Tartine Bakery, which is like, so it's just like all the hipsters who have money. This is the fucking the
Do they
place
use the
that you
same
go for this
ovens?
crap. They don't
Maybe.
use the same ovens. They do not. But it is like a glass, like walled factory. So then they do factory tours and stuff, so you can see all the machinery. It's actually kind of cool. But the crap's super expensive. So my wife buys a bunch of like Japanese ceramics. The plates are like much smaller than what would be a human American portion, but we got them anyway. And it's like, you know, first thing I did when I opened the box was dropped one. So. All right, good.
Still got it.
That was a good way to spend $20. Nice.
Nice.
Thanks for listening.